Welcome to Trifecta Collective, Finding the Root with Megan and Shannon, the podcast, where we dive deep into all things health and wellness to help you find health and healing inside and out for now and forever. Hello and welcome to Trifecta Collective, Finding the Root with Megan and Shannon. I am Megan Abbott, owner and founder of Trifecta Collective, a holistic health practice. And if you are watching this, you can see today I'm by myself. If you are listening, FYI, I'm by myself. This will be a solo episode. Shannon will be back next week with all the storms and everything that happened there. Our schedule got a little mixed up. But we still wanted to make sure we released an episode this week. So it is just me. And what I thought I would talk about today is I wanted to share a little update. If you're watching this, you can tell I'm in a different space. If you're listening, FYI, I'm in a different space. And if you listen to our episode a couple episodes ago now, the larger journey work, where I also shared some big news and updates in my life, I thought I would share some updates with you. I've had some questions, and I've also had a lot of people reach out and just offer support. And I really wanted to say thank you for that. I really appreciate it. It's certainly an unusual circumstance, decisions I've made and all that kind of stuff. So wanted to share a little update and maybe share even a little bit more today. And then I also wanted to share, so in our practice, we work around 5 pillars of support in our holistic practice. We look at 5 pillars. I'm going to get into this. Not at this moment, but I want to talk about these 5 pillars and a little bit, maybe more about how I came to practicing this way through my own journey, through work with clients, and why we really do this, and why oftentimes, if you're not focusing on all 5, why the healing journey can take even longer, why it can seem even more challenging. Maybe you have done some protocols and made some changes, but maybe you're not quite where you'd like to be. And so, I just wanted to share a little bit more about that because I think it will be really valuable. And I know, just having worked with a lot of other practitioners myself, I know a lot of practitioners. A lot of our clients come to us from working with other practitioners, and there's a very specific reason why we work the way we do in order to get the results. And it took me a really long time to put all of these pieces together for myself, let alone to implement them with others, with clients in the practice. So I just wanted to share a little bit more about that and dive deeper into that, just based on my experience over the last 9+ years in the health and wellness space. So little update first. So I'm in Michigan, and right now I'm in Kalamazoo, Michigan, which, up until a couple months ago, I did not know was a real place. Lovely place. I've been here just for a few days. So I left Virginia on June 21st. So as of the recording of this podcast, it's been about 3 weeks. And this is the 4th place I've been in. And this was intentional. And I've done some cool things and settled into some different places here. And then I'm in Kalamazoo for at least a month. And then it's a question mark. And I'll share more about that. So when I left Virginia, I drove long drive. I broke it up. So I stopped in Ohio first, and then I drove up to Muskegon and spent a few days in Muskegon, and then went up to North Muskegon. And that's where Shannon and I, if you saw our Instagram story, Shannon and I got to meet for the first time in person, which was amazing. and incredible. And so nice to meet one of the other women on the team for the first time in real life, after we've been working together for like a year and a half. So that was great. We spent some time together just hanging out. We also did a hike together, and I'm going to leave that piece for us to chat about when we're both back, because I'm not sure what Shannon would like to share, but there was some good stuff that came up. We did do some psychedelics, low dose, a mini dose of psychedelics on this hike, and we were with a group. It was facilitated. And so certainly I think we'll both want to share a little bit more together. And then I supported one of my colleagues, one of the women that I've known for a little bit of time here. I did a microdosing group with her as a participant. She's in the psychedelic space. We went to Colombia together, and I went and just helped and supported in a retreat she was hosting and facilitated, which was great. There were definitely some hiccups. Muskegon got one of the worst storms that it's had in, I think they said, since the late 90s. So we were without power and water for a few days, which for me, I am a big fan of power and water. I'm not a big camper. I do like the outdoors. However, I still like running water. I still like electricity. And so it definitely brought up a lot for me as far as being in the space, processing a lot, supporting a large retreat. It was 10 women participating, which is the largest retreat I've supported in. There were several of us. There was between 4 to 5 supporters during this. I was helping with meals, and yeah, but it was amazing experience. And yeah, just to be in someone else's space too. It's always really nice to see how other people do it, and always learning a lot. There's always a lot to learn in all kinds of spaces. I think especially in the psychedelic space, we were working with mushrooms, and towards the tail end of that, I also got to journey myself. And I did what I would consider a full journey. However, I only did 1.5 grams, which, if you're familiar with kind of larger journey work, it's a pretty low dose of mushrooms, especially for a larger journey. Some people may not feel much of anything on 1.5 grams too. And I had a conversation with a few people. I was supported in my own journey. It was also the first time in a long time I've journeyed by myself and not in a group, which was interesting in and of itself. And I mean, I had a full journey, about 4.5 hours. I would say I was like mostly under the medicine. After about an hour and 45 minutes, I like got up to go to the bathroom, and I go, gosh, like how long has it been already? Because it had felt like hours and hours and hours, and it had only been an hour and 45 minutes. And the original game plan was to do a booster, which is just an additional little bit. And I decided against it because I was getting what I needed right off the bat. And I definitely had some emotions come up at the very beginning, which is very common. But it was a very peaceful journey. It was really beautiful. I got, for me, with all of these changes and basically leaving a whole life that I had built over many years, many years, in a place that I had spent my entire adult life since I was 17 in. I got a lot of confirmation for myself that this was absolutely the right decision. Not that I was super questioning it, but it was also really nice to get some additional validation and confirmation that, yes, this was the right decision. All of this was a culmination of all of the healing work I had been doing for many years, with and without psychedelics. And yeah, it's felt really right. I even just driving and leaving Virginia, within about 30 minutes of leaving, I started to feel lighter, and things felt lighter is the best way to describe it. So I've been super happy, yes, processing and just really been able to enjoy new energy, enjoy new spaces, different people, different environments, all that kind of stuff. And it's been really incredible so far. And I am also really happy with the place that I'm in right now. I'm in a beautiful home and have a private office here, and there's a beautiful outside space and a lovely, lovely kitchen. I've been getting really back into cooking again and enjoying that, which it's been a minute since I've just really enjoyed cooking. And so that's been really nice. I feel like I've had just more space, more it almost feels, I'm trying to find the right words, just comfort, maybe safety. My nervous system is probably the most regulated it's been ever that I can remember. And I was pretty regulated. Certainly the last few months in particularly in getting the house ready to sell was a lot of work. It was very taxing and obviously there was a lot going on, a lot of decisions being made and changes and all that kind of stuff. And so to be able to really relax into my own energy, into the energy of this space, this land, this state, this different, I've never been to Michigan before. So it's just been really nice. And I do have a handful of friends up here. So, being able to spend time with other people is also has been really enjoyable and finding that balance. So yeah, it's been super great. And yes, I'm here for about a month as of right now. And then some things have started to come up for me as to where I'm going to land eventually. I'm not quite ready to share that yet, but some things, it was a real question mark. Even just leaving Virginia, I was like, well, August 10th, I have a place to stay. And then we'll see. I have a feeling I'll probably stay in Michigan just a little bit longer than that, whether it's at this house or not, I'm not quite sure. And then I will probably start to head at least a little bit further south. I'm not a super winter person, and I grew up in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh, and I'm not trying to relive those winters. So I will probably end up further south as the weather starts to shift and change. The exact time frame, I'm not quite sure yet, and that's a little scary and also not really because once again some things have already started to come through as to where I will probably land and where this journey will probably take me. And this is really an exploration of different places, of different people and experiences, and where do I want to be? And that's the real question here because Virginia didn't feel good anymore. The energy of Virginia didn't feel good, but I didn't quite know. It's been a long time since I've lived somewhere else. And so it's the exploration of where is this also going to take me? So very exciting stuff. Very good. I am still a little tired just catching up just from the travel, being in different places, different beds. Although I've slept generally pretty well, the retreat was definitely a lot energetically, a little bit physically too, especially with the no power, no water situation for the first few days. But yeah, my energy is coming back and it's feeling really good and excited to start to explore some different things, especially in the business, which once again, not quite ready to share that. And it will be coming. And I'll probably be sharing more in the next probably months versus weeks, if I had to guess. However, I'm always open to changing. And if I feel called to share something sooner than that, then I certainly will. So yeah. So that's just a little update on me and kind of what's going on and shifts and travel and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, it's felt really good. And I also just haven't traveled a lot in a long time. I used to move a lot. I used to travel a whole lot more and hadn't in a really long time. And there was definitely some nervousness of how I would like it, how I could physically handle it. And outside of just like maybe I wouldn't even say sleep issues, but just, changes in beds and getting used to new beds and environments and that kind of thing. By and large, my body's held up really, really well. I will contribute a lot of that to routines and certain non-negotiables for me. I have been eating pretty well, mostly home cooked food, occasionally eating out. I'm still gluten-free. Dairy, some cheese really has crept in just a little bit here and there, but my body's handling it pretty well. Digestion's been super good, and I've been on very, very, very minimal supplements, which is always good just to know that my body can handle this. And it's always, if you have chronic illness issues, if you have had chronic pain issues, you can probably relate to me in this, in that, driving 12, I mean, it really ended up being close to 13 and a half hours. Definitely some fear coming up around that of like, can my back and my hips, which feel good on a day-to-day basis, but they haven't been challenged in a way like this since my injury, since all of my chronic illness issues. Would my digestion be able to handle this? Would I have a flare? Would I have a cortisol flare? All that kind of stuff. And once again, my body's been in a really pretty darn good spot. And, a couple big things that I've been really focusing on: a morning routine, getting up, eating a good breakfast, and largely similar breakfast that I'm used to eating, doing some sort of movement routine that's mostly looked like yoga and some general stretching. I haven't made it back to the gym yet. It will probably happen this weekend or early next week. I'm ready. My body's ready to get back in the gym, back into some strength training. But I've been really consistent with the movement routine, shower, kind of get ready for work. And then in the evening, decompressing, taking some time to just release from work, decompress from work, having a good dinner, spending some time outside. Reishi has been one of the supplements that I've really made sure that I've kept incorporating, because it was really supportive in just like sleep and stress issues, kind of leading up to this whole change in everything. So that's been really good. And then a multivitamin and magnesium are like the three things that I've been really consistent with by and large. So that's kind of where I am now. If you guys have questions, I'm certainly happy to share more. And if I'm not ready to share, I won't share. That's kind of how my boundaries work and how I've worked. But if you guys have questions about anything that around these changes, once again, I know that they can seem a little abrupt or sudden. And yes, in part. And also it really feels like the culmination of all of the healing work that I've done over the last many, many years. And this is where it led. And these are the changes that I really needed and was ready for as far as the next step in my own healing journey. So yeah, and just also know that I know other people have gone through similar things or have thought about similar things. And if you need support, please don't hesitate to reach out. Happy to just be an ear. Certainly want some advice where it lends itself, or just, being able to witness and see you in making hard decisions and making hard changes, knowing that in the long run, they're for your best interest, best healing, best interest, best self, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so if you have questions, let me know. Feel free to reach out via email, social media, all that kind of stuff. And I'll probably continue to share more updates as they come up, as they come through, all that kind of good stuff. So shifting gears into our 5 pillars of our practice and kind of how this came about. So the 5 pillars that we really focus on, and if you've ever had a consult with one of us, we talk about these really like every single time when we talk about how we work with clients. And those are nutrition, lifestyle, movement, nervous system regulation / trauma healing, and then supplementation. And it's really focusing on all of those together. And here's the other piece of this. We don't have a one size fits all. There's no like, everyone does this quote unquote nutritional program or diet or way of eating. It's not like that. Same thing with lifestyle or with movement or the nervous system regulation piece or even supplements, although largely people start in similar positions with that just because of the way our program usually lends itself, and that we deal with a lot of gut issues and toxin overload issues. And oftentimes we're doing some sort of killing and detoxification and viral work and all that kind of stuff. And liver detox pathway support lends itself as a prerequisite for pretty much all of it. So, but yeah, when it comes to nutrition, I'm a holistic nutritionist, a nutritional therapy practitioner, which AKA holistic nutritionist. And so nutrition goes a really long way. And most of us, a lot of us, don't always eat in a way that's very supportive of our bodies. And this goes a couple of different ways. If we look at the standard American diet, eating a lot of processed food, eating a lot of sugar, it's probably not going to be super supportive of our overall health, of our overall bodies. And we've done an episode that we touched on this. I think we're going to do another episode where we dive a little bit deeper into this. Going the opposite direction of doing crazy strict elimination diets, of being super restrictive, of constantly counting calories and macros and doing that kind of over restriction. Neither one, they both have a time and a place, kind of. And long term, they're not super supportive. It's been a long time since I've eaten a standard American diet or eaten close to that. I've always been a little conscious of what I'm eating, and that part of this goes with eating disorders and disordered eating, and just being very self-conscious with body image issues and that kind of thing. But I used to eat at McDonald's pretty regularly and other fast food places and all that kind of stuff. And then going from, that into more of a bodybuilding approach of counting macros and, weighing all my food and measuring all my food, and then jumping into elimination diets and being on elimination diets for years. Each one a little bit more restrictive until I got down to chicken, steak, and white rice is all my body can moderately handle. That wasn't healthy either. And that led to a lot of food fear, food anxiety, and just being really scared of eating, of putting food in my body, of not knowing how my body was going to respond or react, which isn't good either. And so the way we look at this is a very, hey, where are you right now? What are you eating? And how can we shift you towards more of a long-term solution of how do we focus on whole foods, on mostly whole foods, not 100%. No, none of us are going to be 100% all of the time. It's not super realistic. Let's be honest here. We, busy lives, we're going to eat out. There are amazing restaurants everywhere. So I don't know, should we restrict ourselves? Probably not all the time. A little splurge here and there. There's emotional value in that, among other things. And so mental and emotional value. So we're not big on, let's be 100% all of the time. It's just not realistic. So how can we get more whole foods? How can we prioritize protein? We are a very protein forward kind of practice. And the reason being is most people don't eat enough protein. And protein is very nutrient dense. It is one of two essential nutrients, fat being the other one. It's really good for blood sugar regulation. It's really good for helping maintain muscle and limiting the amount of muscle and bone density we lose. It's very satiating and can help reduce or limit snacking that's needed. And not that snacking is bad. And also, most of us don't make the best decisions all the time when it comes to snacks. And so, yeah, we really focus on protein and prioritizing protein. We work with people who eat plant and animal-based protein. I'd say if we have to pick, we're going to usually lean towards more animal-based protein. there's more bioavailable nutrients, and it's a little bit easier to get protein that way. Not saying it's impossible, not saying being vegan or vegetarian or any of those kind of pescatarian kind of ways of eating, it's not bad. We're not anti any of that. It's just a little bit harder. Just have to be a little bit more mindful of how we're getting that protein and how we're eating to support our bodies. Kind of after that, we look at vegetables. Vegetables are great. They have lots of micronutrients. There's a lot of nutritional value. And for most people, if they prioritize protein and eat protein first, which also has its benefits, especially with stomach acid production, and you can actually limit the amount of calories that you're eating and that your body requires when we take the time to eat the protein first. And then we typically recommend vegetables, and then we recommend anything else that you're having. We're not anti-starchy vegetables. We definitely think, especially menstruating women, need a good amount of carbohydrates. And by that, I mean like minimum of 100 grams, usually. Depends on the person a little bit, but that's usually kind of a general rule of thumb. Not that we track calories or macros, or, certainly we can with certain clients, but that by and large, that's not our approach at all. And so, yeah, you're just going to be able to nourish your body a little bit easier. It's a little bit easier to listen to your body's cues doing it that way as well. So, but once again, that looks really different for every person. And what does that look like? What are the steps that we're taking to get there? Some of our clients come to us not knowing how to cook anything. So what are some really easy ways that we can help kind of educate on simple meals to cook and to fuel your body? So from a nutritional standpoint, and this is going to start to get probably a little repetitive, but it's really about meeting people where they are, prioritizing whole foods, protein, vegetables, not going too low carb for most people. And if we need to do some sort of, we'll say, therapeutic diet, I like that word better than elimination diet, we absolutely can. We are trained in that world as well. Myself and then Shannon and Brendan, we have lots of training and experience around that too. So once again, it has value. Is it the best option for everyone? No. And so one of the things that I see in this space, the holistic health space, is people being forced or jumping into really restrictive diets, elimination diets, therapeutic diets right off the bat. I know I was. And sometimes it has value. Once again, I think a lot of these therapeutic diets have value. And I also know that people are put on this as a blanket. You got to do this. You have SIBO, you go on a low FODMAP diet. Really not a fan of that particular diet. But if we have someone with mold and has a lot of histamine issues, or consistently breaking out in rashes or hives, or has a lot of sinus congestion issues, yeah, we absolutely may recommend a lower histamine or lower oxalate type diet. Like a Whole30 or paleo-ish. These do have a lot of value when done short term and in conjunction with other things. It's, I think, really where I see people getting into trouble is doing these long term, of not looking at the bigger picture, not looking at the bigger root causes, and just trying to do everything with nutrition. And nutrition can do a lot, and it also has its limitations, especially when it comes to healing chronic issues at times. So kind of my little spiel on nutrition. So the next thing we look at is lifestyle. And lifestyle is a real big category. And this, some basic things that we often look at. How is someone eating? Are you eating in your car and shoveling food in your face? We want to look at that. We know digestion isn't going to be the best when we're eating like that. So can we take a few big deep breaths? Digestion starts in the brain. So how can we get into a little bit more of a parasympathetic, relaxed state to be able to just naturally improve our digestion? Can we chew our food more, which is really supportive of digestion? Can we limit the amount of water or other liquids we're eating with meals? Once again, super supportive of just good digestion. It's going to force you to slow down. It's going to help improve stomach acid levels naturally, which also improves digestion. And then other lifestyle things that can kind of be wrapped into some other categories as well. Someone, and this is really common, someone comes to us with cortisol dysregulation issues. They're tired all day. They're waking up at 3 a.m., constantly feeling like wired, a lot of anxiety, the puffy face, the weight gain in the belly, or inability to lose weight in the lower belly. These are all signs of cortisol and adrenal issues. And so, are we drinking caffeine on an empty stomach? Are we getting natural light in our eyes at any point in the day? And how can we do that? If we kind of like bounce into the category of movement, are we doing workouts that are too intense or working out too much or not getting any movement? In which case, can we, maybe incorporate a walk, which gets us outside, which also gives us some movement? It's really, really those kinds of things. And then I would say the other kind of thing that we wrap into lifestyle is liver support. If you haven't guessed by now, we're really big on liver support. And, one of the biggest reasons why is the liver plays such a big role in regulating our body. One of its main jobs is to get things out of the body that shouldn't be there, whether that's excess things like excess hormones, excess estrogen, excess testosterone, excess cortisol, things that shouldn't be there, like extra viral issues. If you have chronic viral issues, those viruses are running throughout your entire body and your liver's trying to get that out. Toxins, we're all exposed to toxins. And so your body's trying to get that out. If you've got gut overgrowth and those gut overgrowths are releasing more toxins and maybe even just like pathogens are circulating through your body, your liver's got to work to get that out. It also plays a really big role in blood sugar regulation, in digestion. And so these are really common issues. So how can we, from a lifestyle standpoint, support our liver? Can we look at castor oil packs? Can we look at Epsom salt baths? Can we look at, getting in a sauna, sweating, rebounding, dry brushing? If you want to go a little bit more intense, coffee enemas. So how can we support the liver just from a lifestyle standpoint? And I'm going to loop, really, this is also movement and nervous system regulation work, but how can we incorporate these in a way that a client can implement this long term? Because we know long term lifestyle changes are going to make a really big difference in the healing process. So how can we nourish and feed ourselves in a way that long term is going to keep us in a pretty darn good spot? What are some simple lifestyle things that we can incorporate long term that are going to help keep us in that really good healed spot? And nutrition and lifestyle are fundamental things that can make such a big impact. And once again, this can look different for different people. For me, coffee enemas, castor oil packs, and baths have been a huge part of my maintenance protocol. We can, if we want to call it that, just overall maintenance in staying really healthy and staying healed and feeling good and maintaining energy and sleep and all of the things here. And so what does that look like for someone else? Because it's probably not going to look the same for everyone, and that's okay. But it's a matter of how can we support someone in getting there long term. And there may be, some additional things required in the actual healing process, but really the goal is to be able to teach someone when they work with us, not only how to heal and heal their body right now, but also live in a way that is going to be feasible, going to be manageable, and is going to help them stay healed long term. Because It's a really big deal. If you go through any of these healing protocols, and once again, I've worked with so many practitioners, and the focus was on healing, but I really didn't feel like the focus was on staying healed. And what are things that I need to do to keep my body in a really good spot long term? And that's a really big difference with us is we want to teach someone those tools. And what does it look like for them? Because once again, everyone is different, and what's feasible for me isn't going to be feasible for every other person, nor should it. Slash, we're also all different. Our bodies are all different. Our lifestyles, our needs, the capacity that we have, it's all different. And so it's how can we meet someone where they are and also help them get to a place where we know that these things are going to be feasible and long-term strategies to help them stay healed. So we've got nutrition, we've got lifestyle, and then we have movement is the next one. So when it comes to movement, once again, this looks really different for everyone. This also really looks really different depending on where someone comes from and what someone is doing right now. So, if someone comes to us and they're strength training 4 or 5 days a week and walking for a couple hours a day, we might pull them back a little bit versus someone who is not doing anything and maybe they're in chronic pain and they literally can't do anything. How can we incorporate maybe, a few minutes of gentle mobility work? And mobility is similar to corrective exercise and helping just open up the body and restoring the body's natural movement patterns to help us feel good. And where do we progress from that, or where do we backtrack from that, and how do we get to a place that once again we can maintain long term? And when it comes to movement, I'll say three really big things that are always present and top of mind for me. Can we walk? Walking is so good. It's so good for our bodies. It's something our bodies naturally do, especially if we can get outside. There's so many benefits to being outside, getting natural light. And so, are there opportunities, even just for a 5 or 10 minute walk once or twice a day? Long term, are we able to do that? Mobility is so good. And once again, this can be 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, and it just helps to open up our body. One of the biggest things that I always look at is hip mobility. Most of us sit a lot. I sit a lot at a computer, walking, that's a forward and back motion, standing in the kitchen, wherever it may be. And so our hips don't get a lot of internal and external rotation, which can cause strain on the hips themselves, can cause a lot of strain and pain in the low back. And so how do we just open that up? Same thing goes with the mid back. We don't do a whole lot of twisting and kind of turning and opening up. And when people get hurt, a lot of times it's some of these motions that our bodies are meant to do and they haven't done in a really long time. And when we have a sudden movement or do a movement that our body isn't used to, that's oftentimes when we get hurt. And so how can we do some preventative work? Or if we're already in pain, how can we start to do some care and opening up our body to make sure that our body can feel better? And this was a huge piece of my own healing journey with chronic low back pain that ended up with bursitis in my hips. I had sciatica. I didn't have feeling in my right leg for almost a year, and nerve pain and all that kind of stuff. And mobility played a really big role. And one of the things that, out of all of the 8 physical therapists that I saw, no one really looked at everything all together. And so once again, we focus on the whole body. How is the whole body functioning? We have a movement assessment that we'll often do when someone's ready for that, because it's really important. Our bodies are meant to move. We're meant to sit in a chair or on a couch or in a bed all day, every day. Sometimes we need that too, by the way, especially if you're in a lot of pain and if there's a lot of internal inflammation going on, that plays a really big role in your just pain levels, on how your body's functioning overall. So how do we support that? The other really big thing that we really think is valuable, wanted to take a minute to think about how I wanted to phrase that, is strength training. And once again, strength training can look really different depending on the person. Sometimes this is body weight, sometimes this is some band work, sometimes this is, more traditional resistance trainings with free weights or, dumbbells, barbells, kettlebells, all that kind of stuff. As we age, we lose muscle mass and bone density. It's just something that happens. And especially women, we lose more. And one of the ways that we can support and limit that is through strength training. We know that, studies are really clear now that strength training has a lot of benefits when it comes to increasing muscle mass, of course, and also increasing bone density. There's also a lot of neurological and cognitive benefits. There's a lot of benefits for our heart health, which really fascinating. A lot of physicians will recommend cardio of some sort for your heart health. Well, strength training can also be super beneficial. There's at least one study that I'm familiar with that shows it is as beneficial for our heart health as cardiovascular work. Pretty incredible. And we're not talking about high intensity interval training here. We're talking about traditional strength training. Strength training is also very supportive of blood sugar regulation. If you have PCOS, if you have, things like pretty significant blood sugar dysregulation, not that strength training is the be all end all. However, it can also be supportive. Also really good for mental and emotional health. It was a huge piece in me being able to get off of all of my anti-anxiety and off of my antidepressants back in my mid-20s. And this played a huge role. And we have seen, once again, there are studies showing that strength training and exercise is as beneficial, especially for mild to moderate depression and anxiety. I believe it is both, if I remember the study correctly, as many medications, which is pretty incredible that that is the case. Strength training does not have the same side effects as medications. For me, and I know this is the case with so many people because I've heard many, many stories and I've experienced this firsthand. Some of it can take a while to find the right medication for you. And for me, I never found the right medication or combination of medications. I felt like a zombie at best on medications. And at my worst, I was even more suicidal and in worse places than I was not on medication. So, why not give strength training a try at the very least? Also, really supportive of hormones. So, hormone balancing. So, there's just so much value in it. Plus, it's a great way to increase your metabolism and to focus on body changes. I won't say weight loss in particular because little different, but body composition changes. Really valuable, a lot of value in strength training. So movement, really big piece. Then we look at nervous system regulation work / trauma work. And this is all about helping our body feel safe. And this took me a long time to really recognize how much value this really has in not only the healing journey itself, because there's a lot of value there. However, I would say even more value in staying healed long term. The more your nervous system is regulated, the more you're able to release emotions, release stored traumas, retrain your brain out of these trauma patterns, the more your body can handle. And if, we've talked about this before, the stress bucket. Just if your nervous system is dysregulated, if you're constantly in a state of survival mode, fight, flight, freeze, your stress bucket is already going to be a lot fuller. And so your ability to handle anything else is going to go down. And so when we're able to start to chip away at that, now it's a process for sure, and it's a continual process. But when we're able to start reducing that and helping our body feel safer, our bodies can handle a lot more. Our bodies are able to heal in very different ways. Also, a lot of just physiological changes that can happen, and responses that happen. Most notably, I would say digestion. If you're constantly in a state of fight, flight, or freeze, long-term good digestion and gut health can be very challenging to find. Our bodies were meant to digest food in a rested, relaxed, parasympathetic, not survival mode, the opposite of survival mode kind of state. And there are physiological things that happen with our digestion and digestive tract that can throw things off when we're constantly in that state. So this is a non-negotiable for us. Once again, it took me a really long time to put this together, that this piece is as fundamental as every other piece, if not more important. I'll also say, from the other end, I see a lot of people do that work first and then come into more of the nutrition, other piece of it too. They go hand in hand. I've seen people have, once again, like mild to moderate success going the opposite way. And it's really when they combine all of it together that they see really massive, massive changes. And so this is why this is a non-negotiable for us. So we're really big on this. And this, out of everything, this probably varies the most person to person, because we all have different traumas. We all have different places we're coming from in this. Meditation, breathwork, journaling are oftentimes, if someone's not doing anything, where we'll start. We do a lot of energy healing in our practice. I'm an energy healer. We have Brendan, who is trained in so many amazing and different techniques to help regulate the nervous system. We look at somatic work, we look at brain retraining, brain rewiring, all of these things together. And once again, it just depends on the person, and everyone's different. And I mean, even for me, these things vary in my life, in my own life. And I have a lot of tools and resources, and they come and go depending on what I need at different times. And yeah, this piece is the piece that I continue to focus on the most, as I think there's always more work to do. Thus, all of my life changes, or a big part of my life changes, is to further my own healing, nervous system regulation, trauma healing. I was feeling so pulled and called to make these changes, and this was the next step in my own healing journey, especially if I wanted to continue to progress in my own different ways of healing. And so, yeah, non-negotiable for us, because it's so fundamental. And then the last piece is supplements. And once again, I think if you're only focusing on supplements, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. If you're working with someone and you're taking 10, 15, 20 plus supplements and not focusing on a lot of the other things, also doing a huge disservice and also wasting a ton of money. Once again, I've been there. I was once on 33 different supplements at a given time, plus super restrictive diets. I mean, it was a full-time job just to handle the amount of supplements I was on, plus the restrictions I was on from a nutritional standpoint. Too much. We really prioritize limiting supplements to what we actually need. And the way we do that is by looking at bigger root causes. What is someone, big picture, really struggling with, and how does that affect everything else downstream? If someone's just focusing on hormones as a starting point, we're not big on that, because, all right, well, hormones are out of balance. Okay, that's like center here. What are all of the things that we're doing that are impacting our hormones and contributing to hormone imbalances? Same thing with gut issues, gut overgrowth issues, SIBO and Candida in particular. Please, 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 if you have SIBO, go listen to our SIBO episode. And SIBO is a symptom. If you're if you are only supporting and trying to kill the SIBO in any form or fashion, and that is the only thing you're looking at, it's not going to last. I can say with pretty much 100% certainty, it is not going to last. I have done every SIBO protocol that I'm aware of that is out there, and I always ended up back with SIBO. And that's because no one looked for many years at other bigger root causes that were going on. And I'm going to include in here nervous system dysregulation and all of the trauma and just being in this chronic state of fight or flight because my stomach acid levels were basically non-existent. And if I'm constantly afraid to eat and my stomach acid levels are super low, well, that's a breeding ground for gut overgrowth issues, especially SIBO. And so if you have SIBO, please don't only look at SIBO because there are other things going on. And if you don't look at the bigger picture as to why and how it got there in the first place, you're going to just end up chasing symptoms for a really, really long time. And you can save a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of just emotional time, just looking at the bigger picture. So we use targeted supplementation once we identify bigger root causes. And then we kind of slowly work our way in. And that's how we really look at things, because if you've got, toxin overload issues, if you have mold, nothing, you can work on your thyroid, your hormones, your gut, cognitive health, everything, and nothing's going to see long-term change until you address the mold. I can promise you that. So you have to, we like to look at bigger picture and kind of slowly work our way into the smaller things. And we have a lot of success doing that. Once again, it's not just supplements. We use targeted supplementation. Most of our clients are also only on 3 to 6 supplements at any given time. We really try and keep them to a minimum and really target what we actually need to support someone's body. So yeah, those are our 5 pillars. And once again, I had worked with so many practitioners who worked with 1, maybe 2 of these. And it took me such a long time to figure out how important all of these things were and how to do all of these things in a way that fit me, fit my lifestyle, and put them all together in order to heal. And if you talk to most other practitioners who are in a really good spot, which by the way is not everyone, that it's a combination of all of these things that probably got them there in some form or fashion. And once again, this looks different for everyone, but these are foundational and so important and so valuable just in the healing process to get healed, to stay, and especially to stay healed long term. So hopefully this was helpful, and thank you for joining and listening to me talk for almost a whole hour now here. And excited to have Shannon back and be able to share more. And we're going to be talking about some other really, really cool and fun things coming up. So make sure to stay tuned, as we are still a newer podcast. So any likes, subscribes, follows, 5-star reviews, all of that's really important and very valuable for us. If that resonates, we would absolutely so appreciate it. And thank you for joining me, and we will see you next time. Have a great day.